On today's Locked On NBA Squad Show East, which play-in team is the most dangerous? We all know they're probably not going to win a playoff round, but which one could? We'll talk about that and more today's Locked On NBA Squad Show East.
You are talking ball with the NBA East Squad Show, sponsored by Game Time. From the Celtics to the Bucks, the Knicks to the Heat, and everyone else in the East, the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bring you all the scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive look at the Eastern Conference. Trash talk and big takes included. No holding back. We're giving the green light. It's time to talk NBA East.
And welcome. You are locked on to the NBA Squad Show East. My name is Nick Angstead, host of Locked On NBA. This is the Squad Show. We take over your favorite feed, and it's an open invite to any Eastern Conference host to talk about anything they want in the NBA's Eastern Conference. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA to get $20 off your first purchase. Joining me today from Locked On Pacers, Tony East, of course. From Locked On Magic, Philip Rossman Reich, and from Locked On Pistons, Ku Cahill, who should be looking happier as covering the team that's a 6 seed that last year you were in the depths and despair.
I was.
Season.
I was. It was a special time.
We may end up somewhere completely different, but gentlemen, let's start here. We know they're probably not going to win a round, right? You can't convince me the Magic, the Hawks, the Bulls, the Heat, the teams that are currently in the play-in right now have literally any chance against the Cavs or the Celtics. But if you're the Cavs or the Celtics, which team would you want to face the least among those four?
Magic Coast, please take us home. Ghost.
Yeah. I think you know my answer. I think it's the Magic because they're the team of that group that probably disappointed the most, that probably underachieved the most. And a lot of that's because of injuries. They're still this physical pounding defense. They're still a tough team to score against. They're going to foul you a lot. And if you're a team like the Cavs or the Celtics, you want to get out of that first round with as little issue as possible. You want your body feeling good. You don't want to have to deal with any lingering effects from getting hit hard by the big bruising arms and length and size that that a team like the Magic has. So I think if you're Cleveland or Boston, you're gonna win the series. I'm not pretending otherwise, but you don't want to get stuck in a 6-game series or even a 5-game series against a team that's just going to hit you as hard as they can for a week and a half. Like that, you want to get out as quickly as possible.
I don't want to play the Magic either, but man, oh man, if I am a coach, GM, player, I keep seeing Kobe White go crazy. And I'm like, man, that guy's going to beat us once. Maybe I'm biased because I went to Chicago and watched the Pacers lose by like 25 to the Bulls. But Kobe White and Josh Giddey were good in that game. They obviously have that Lakers signature game now. Since the trade, they've been like good. Like they keep winning. He won Player of the Month. I'm not saying good enough to beat either of those teams. And West Halupian, we're talking about, can any play-in team actually win around? So I'll make you talk about the Heat in a second. I do not want to play the Bulls. I know that both the Cavs and Celtics would beat them, but they just have enough like, oh, crap. Like, Dalen Terry made 2 threes, and Kevin Huerter made 4 threes, and Kobe White had 29 points, and we lost. And, like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to have to deal with that stress as any of those teams. I just wouldn't want to play the Bulls, personally.
Yeah, nobody wants to try to go and score against Jalen Smith, you know?
Okay, why do they keep winning, though? I had the same thought as you when they beat the Pacers. Like, how is this happening? But they keep doing it. It's like good teams.
They're that team. There's always that one team that just goes on some kind of run in March because they're like trying harder than the rest of the teams.
Wow.
Yeah, I also would have to go with the Bulls. I'm sorry, Philip, but the Orlando Magic half-court offense. Yeah, I was going to say, the half-court offense, I'm just not a believer. And the argument about they would beat up whatever team they play against is fair. They probably would be the most rough in the first round. I don't think anyone thinks any team that's going to play them is going to win. So I guess in that idea, that is true. But the team I think is most likely to perhaps win a game, maybe 2 or whatever, is the Bulls. The last 15 games, the Bulls are the 7th best team according to net rating. They have the 11th best defense, and their offense is the 10th best in the league. And Kobe White's been losing his mind over the last few weeks. So, and like you mentioned, Tony, they've been playing really well. I have a bunch of friends in Chicago, and they've been constantly hitting me up about all we need to do is trade Zach LaVine and get our pick back. And now all of a sudden, look at us. Here we are. We're coming. And now, but they've looked really good. So I think out of any team that's in the play, I think the Bulls are easily playing the best, and the team you probably would not like to play the most.
Has Josh Giddey changed the NBA's collective minds enough about him that they wouldn't do just what the Mavs did to the Thunder last year when Josh Giddey was there and play him completely off the floor in a playoff setting?
No, he could score more, but he's the same problems that
he's shooting 37% on threes this year.
He's making threes,
which is like a surprising number.
He's very good at half-court shots against LeBron James. Wes, do the Heat have any argument here? They have Eric Spoelstra still.
Brought them up.
Look, if you ask, and I don't know how much this counts, but if you ask any of the teams that and get a real answer, which team don't you want to see in the first round out of all these playing teams? All of them would say the Miami Heat.
That's true.
That's the reputation they have across the league. I'm not saying that they're right. I'm just telling you what coaches and players would say. Like, I just don't really want to deal with that team, because yes, they have Eric Spoelstra. They also have Bam Adebayo, who can kind of screw up everything that you want to do offensively. They just make things difficult for you in a way that players really find annoying. They just know that Bam is going to do that stuff. Their team's probably going to be outcoached by Spo, and they're going to have to deal with whatever those ramifications are. And look, the Heat, they had no chance against Boston in the first round last year. They still knocked a game off the Celtics in that first round game. Like, they just find a way. So of all the teams that would probably find a way to win one game, I would put my money on Miami more than any of these other ones.
Wow. Can I ask the question everyone's asking themselves at home? Doesn't that change without Jimmy Butler now?
No, Jimmy Butler wasn't in the first round last year either.
There you go.
Can I slide something in?
Said.
Can I just slide something in here? The Hawks have a winning record against both the Cavs and the Celtics this season.
I was gonna say like the way I took this question when we pitch it was like which team does do those top two teams not want to face? But the team that I think actually has the best chance of winning a series is Atlanta, because Trae Young is just such a wild card. We know what he can do in an individual game, in a single game. Of all the players that we're talking about, all these teams, including Kobe White, Trae Young has the longest history of playoff success, of being able to change playoff series, of extending series with just individual brilliance. You take that now with Atlanta. They're not playing great defense right now, but they have some great defenders. They have some shooting depth now since they made their trades to get Karis LeVert, to get George Niang, to get some of these other players that they have. They have a great perimeter defender in Dyson Daniels now. The Hawks, to me, are a team that, if conditions are just right, if you go to sleep on them just enough, if a player, God forbid, rolls an ankle and has to miss a game or two, that's a team that could really extend a series if you're not careful, or if you take them a little too lightly, which maybe we all have by mentioning them last among the playing teams.
Well, like the argument I made for the Bulls and Kobe White's like Trae Young's been doing all that for a long time, including winning series doing so. But it's hard for me to pick them still.
Aren't they just a fundamentally different team without Hunter and Bogdanovich? Like,
but
traded off some guys.
LeVert's hooping. Onyeka Okongwu's been really good since like the All-Star break. George Niang has like 20 points in a game once a week somehow now. Like they're actually kind of good. They're not good.
Their offense is really good. It's the defense that really concerns me. Their offense is fifth in the NBA the last 15 games.
They've kind of flipped from the beginning of the season. At the beginning of the season, their offense was just kind of pedestrian, which was weird for a Trae Young team. And their defense was really solid. And then since the All-Star break, it's just been all gas, no breaks. They're just scoring a ton. And they look like every Trae Young Hawks team that we've ever seen. But Trae Young Hawks teams do better than we think in the playoffs.
Perfect
Danny's
timing.
here. Perfect
time.
Danny Cunningham is here. Danny.
Hi.
Do any East play-in teams have a chance to win in the first round? And if so, which one scares you as Cavs representative the most?
Like win a game in the first round? Or
Take it how you want.
Like one of them could win a game in the first round. I don't think any of the four teams that are going to be in the play-in have any like legitimate chance to win a series against the Cavs or the Celtics. Orlando can't score. Atlanta can't defend. Miami doesn't want to be there. And Chicago is just on a treadmill of mediocrity. Like, no, none of those teams can win a series against either of the top two teams. At least they could get a game. Sure. Like, could the Bulls hit 23s in a game against the Cavs or the Celtics and win? Absolutely. That's possible. Are they going to do that 4 times? No, probably not. None of these teams are scary.
Which one do you least want to face?
I mean,
this man's blanket is soaking wet right now. Holy smokes!
There's not like a
rank them.
I mean, I'm ranking them on like the cities I want to go to. And like Orlando is 1, Miami is 2, Atlanta is 3, and Chicago.
How's Orlando
is 4.
over Miami?
Because the golf in Orlando is better than the golf in Miami. That is why.
That's fair.
That is what I'm ranking this on.
Oviedo, which is right next to Orlando, I think is the golf capital of the world.
If one of these teams wins a game off of the Cavs, we should have some kind of bet where Danny has to do something on the next squad show.
I agree.
Danny doesn't have to do anything because that stuff is possible. But I mean, just they're not going to win this series. Like none of those teams are good. I don't think any of those teams really have had seasons that belong to be in the playoffs if you're looking at this from that sort of standpoint. Like they're all just very below average teams for the most part, and none of them I really even think have much that scares you. Like, yeah, Paolo Banchero is awesome and Trae Young is fantastic and Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero are good players. And you can say whatever you want about the Chicago Bulls, I guess, but they're not good teams, right? Like that's kind of what this is. And the Cavs have won 60 plus games. The Celtics, I would be surprised if they don't get to 60 wins. Those types of teams just really don't lose these sort of series against teams that really don't scare anybody.
Last year, 3 out of 4 play-in teams won a game. Shout out to the Pelicans for being our sucker of the day today. And the Sixers won 2, but the Sixers are way better last year than any play-in team this year.
Philly last year was so much different because of what they were going into the playoffs compared to what they were that got them into the play-in. And if memory serves me correct, 4 through 7 was pretty tight.
One loss. The Magic were the 5 seed. If they would have lost the last day of the season, they would have been the 8. Like that's right. How tight everything was.
That is not what it is this year. There's such a big gap between the Pistons and 6 and the play-in right now. Like I just think it's a very different conversation.
Coming up, the teams at the bottom, we're going to say goodbye to them for a little while until the lottery or the draft. But which of them has the brightest future? Let's talk about that and more on today's Locked On NBA Squad Show East. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood Gold. You now get the financial favors of the 1% for any net worth. Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are now no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%, plus you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of a high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from the first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national savings average. Interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA Squad Show. We're taking over the feed of your favorite show, and we're talking about the bottom 5 in the West, or in the East. Raptors, Nets, Sixers, Hornets, Wizards, the Dregs, the bottom of it. Which team has the brightest future in that group? You would think the Sixers, who have the best players of that group right now.
I think the Sixers might be the team I least want to be moving forward.
Let's position it that way then. Who's the team you least want to be if you're the GM?
The Sixers. I don't want to be Philly.
Okay, who do you most want to be then?
I would take. I like what the Wizards are trying to do moving forward. Like as far as a rebuild, I like the Wizards, and I like the Raptors are going in a route that I don't really like. So I probably would stay away from that. I more so would like the teams that I have more freedom with and have a future. So I probably would go Wizards, Nets, Hornets.
What? Why would you pick the Wizards? Do they have a single player that you're like, yep, long-term piece? Like they have some nice players, but it's like you're building around Bub Carrington.
Yeah, but they have good players with flexibility.
Bilal is great, right? Bilal is pretty good, like right now.
Sarr has finally had a very solid rookie season.
Yeah, and let them get a top 3 pick this year. All of a sudden, you might have the guy with a bunch of good pieces and flexibility moving forward.
I think Charlotte's pieces are just a little bit better.
Wow.
I agree with
that. I don't think it's a hot take at all.
You have LaMelo and Brandon Miller. Those are both better players than better prospects than Washington.
I don't disagree with that.
Certainly, those better players have led to a lot more winning by the Charlotte Hornets.
They were in the play-in tournament not 2-3 years ago.
I like LaMelo, but I don't know if I'd be championing Brandon Miller as this much higher ceiling than these other guys in Washington.
I definitely would. I honestly
yeah.
Honestly, Brandon Miller is what puts it over the top for me. You have Brandon Miller plus whatever draft pick you're getting this year. I think that is a really good place to start. I think Charles Lee is a really good is going to end up being a pretty good coach.
I agree with that.
I think that they have gotten a lot out of their team. They've had a lot of injuries. Like LaMelo Ball is constantly injured. He may or may not be one of the big names on the trade market this year. So I think there's a lot of potential, not just to recoup some value and really kind of kickstart a rebuild here, but I think that even if you keep LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and your draft pick in the Eastern Conference, that's going to be good enough to compete for a play-in spot if you're healthy. And obviously health has been the big story with the Hornets for the last pretty much since they got LaMelo Ball. When LaMelo Ball is healthy, they've been a play-in contender. When he's not, they don't have the depth to kind of carry things through. I really do like a lot of their young players. I think Tejan Salon's obviously a little bit more of a project than maybe I would have taken with that draft pick, but he's shown some nice signs. Nick Smith has made some huge gains from what we thought he would be coming out of Arkansas. I think there is something to work with there in Charlotte. And again, like the hardest thing is find the nice young star. I'm a believer in what Brandon Miller can become. Obviously, he's coming off of a major injury this year now. But I really think that they have some really good pieces moving forward.
And they could pivot pretty easily, right? With LaMelo and then even Mark Williams. Like, those are things that they could trade and be like, okay, now we have a bunch of first-round picks. We have some real stuff. They would be
sitting pretty if they had, like, Dalton Connect and a Lakers first.
I think I would like their future better if they traded LaMelo. Like, I just don't think that he's necessarily part of winning. And the way when I look at these rebuilds and just, like, how many pieces you have, the question I always ask is, how many guys on the roster right now are going to be on the roster the next time that team wins a playoff series? And I think the answer with LaMelo is he's not going to be in Charlotte by the time the Hornets finally win a playoff series. So if that's your answer, and I understand that not everything is this cut and dry, but if that's your answer, I think he should be somebody that they look to move and see what they could get for him, because it's not that he's a bad player. I just don't know that he affects winning in the way that they're going to need winning to be affected with the amount of money they're going to be paying him.
They've got 4 years left on that LaMelo deal, though. 4 years and they won't win a playoff game at all if they're building around him?
A playoff series. They can win a game just the same way that the Atlanta Hawks can win a game this year in the playoffs. But I don't see them winning a series right now unless they land Cooper Flagg. And even then, if that's the case, to get Cooper Flagg where you want Cooper Flagg to be, you might need to get LaMelo out of the picture anyway.
So with that premise you just said, which I also like, the Nets are really interesting because there's a chance the answer is 0. Like, they have 0 guys who will be on their next series winning team, but they have so much flexibility now that they have their own picks and like no long-term salary besides Nick Claxton, that they can do lots of stuff. So their future is interesting just because it could be anything.
And they're Brooklyn. They can get free agents maybe.
Yeah. But I don't know if anyone's like, these specific things on the Brooklyn Nets right now are so exciting. To make the case for the Raptors, I don't know that I believe this, but there's a chance that this like long ball thing that Masai loves to do with these lengthy forwards does work if Quickly's any good, right? Scotty, Ingram, Pirtle, and Quickly is like a decent enough to be annoying level of team. Do I think they'll ever be like top 6 or 5 in the East? Maybe not. That's an expensive, mediocre team, but at least I get how it could be good, which is more than I can say about some of these teams right now.
They're also starting with the most trade pieces when you talk about all those players. Like, all those players have some kind of value, whereas the Nets guys you just talked about probably don't.
None. Except for Cam, obviously.
Which one?
Johnson,
yeah, the shooter.
The chucker?
I think the Toronto thing comes down to what you think about Scotty Barnes. And I don't know that.
I agree with you. And what they think about Scotty Barnes is clear they love him, right?
Right. And clearly they're probably wrong about... Right, like, you can love Scotty Barnes, but he's probably not like the
Scotty
guy.
Barnes.
What's his ceiling?
Scotty Barnes is like Aaron Gordon in Orlando.
No.
He's better than Aaron Gordon in Orlando. But this is the comparison I'm making. Aaron Gordon was cast as the star in Orlando. He was like 4th, 5th pick in the draft. Like, they needed him to be the guy that averaged 20, 25 a night and led the team in scoring, and that just wasn't his skill set. So he moves on to a second team in Denver, and he slots in the perfect role. Scotty Barnes is a really good player. He's better than Aaron Gordon. I'm not saying that he's better than Aaron Gordon, or that Aaron Gordon's better than Scotty Barnes. But Scotty Barnes needs to be in a system where he is a supporting player, where he can defend, he can be a little bit the playmaker, passer, spot up shooter, somewhere where he doesn't have to have all the offensive reps. It worked for him really early in his career because there were other players on those Raptors teams that took a lot of those on-ball reps, and the Raptors absolutely should try and see like, hey, maybe this guy can do this. it's pretty clear that he can't. And so it's finding out how, maybe Brandon Ingram can carry that weight. I don't know if he can, because Brandon Ingram can't seem to carry any weight without snapping his legs. This is the issue that the Raptors have, is they're building around a guy who isn't a number one. And that's kind of where they're stuck at. Coming up, if one of those teams gets Cooper Flagg, which team do you change your mind about the most when it comes to this question? We'll talk about that and more. Locked On NBA Squad Show East. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. If you are a person that has anxiety, which should be every single person that exists out there, you may need to talk to somebody and to walk through some things in your life. The show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health, but traditional in-person therapy can be expensive, often ranging from $100 to $250 per session, and that's where BetterHelp comes in. With online therapy, you get quality care at the price that makes sense, saving you time and money, and sometimes you just need to talk through some things. Talk through something you have anxiety. If there's something that just keeps running through your mind and you're worrying about it, talk to somebody, walk through it, see if you can work through some of those things, and then maybe you won't have to worry about that anymore. Wouldn't that be great to get that off your mind? Therapy isn't just for life's toughest moments. It can also help with everyday stress, learning how to set boundaries, developing positive coping skills. Having access to support when you need it can be a major difference in your life. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today and get 10% off your first month. BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, gentlemen, we're talking about the bottom of the East for right now. Which team, if they got Cooper Flagg, would you change your mind about the most? You're like, all right, hate this team. I wouldn't want to be them, but they get Cooper Flagg, and all of a sudden you're like, all right, never mind. Feeling great about them.
Feeling great? Hornets. Yeah, probably Hornets. I agree. Anyone else?
I think it's Philly. Because I think it's Philly, and I would want to get off the Embiid contract.
I would not believe in karma ever again.
I don't disagree with that. But if Philly has Maxey, Cooper Flagg, Jared McCain, I don't know what you end up getting for Joel Embiid. Core. Probably not much. Might not be somebody viewed as a positive asset. You kind of just treat Paul George like he's Tobias Harris again. I like that, though, moving forward. I think in 2 or 3 years, when you get Tyrese Maxey entering his prime, like his real prime, whatever Cooper Flagg turns out to be, I like some of those other pieces. I do think Daryl is a creative enough decision maker to make that work. Like, I would feel much better if I'm Philly if I land Cooper Flagg as opposed to what Philly is right now.
That's a good point. I always forget about McCain and how good he was because he got hurt so early in the season. But, yeah, that would be a nasty young group. That would give them the dreaded 2 timelines decision that never has worked for anyone ever, but the young timeline would be pretty dang good.
Would they even have a decision to make at that point?
Well, the problem is they can't go out of their current timeline. Like, no one's going to want those contracts, right? So they kind of have to try, I guess.
So then you just don't make any more win now moves at that point.
Yeah, just chill, figure it out. But that is a great point. If I remembered that Jared McCain existed, that says a lot about my ability to talk.
You just said chill, figure it out about a Daryl Morey team. I don't know if that's ever worked.
If he was Flagg, he would definitely follow his, we have a 1% chance at a title, we got to go for it thing.
I don't disagree with the Philly point, but if I could make the case for Brooklyn, I mean, they're sort of in a similar position as what I was talking about with Washington. It's like, okay, there's 0 players I like on this team. What happens next? Where if you got Cooper Flagg, that would give them something that you could really feel good about in terms of building around it. Jordi Fernandez is obviously a really good coach because they've won way too many games, despite the fact that they have no players that anybody likes. And they're sort of in this like early Sam Presti period where they're getting a lot of credit for just trading away good players for draft picks. But you could pivot from that to the next stage of your rebuild phase where, okay, now we have Cooper Flagg and now we could start building around something. So I'd feel a lot different about Brooklyn because if they don't get a really like that kind of cornerstone piece, it just sort of feels like they'll be doing this for a couple more years until they get that player.
It really feels like Cooper Flagg is that kind of cornerstone, in that a lot of these teams that don't seem to have much of a direction, or the direction is unclear, that direction just gets suddenly very clear if you win this lottery and you get Cooper Flagg. I would say Washington, because I agree with Coop from earlier that there are a lot of players that I really like in Washington. Bilal Coulibaly made a huge leap this year. I have been impressed with how Alex Sarr has gotten more comfortable, and people have kind of forgotten about him over the course of the year because he's kind of buried off in the corner in Washington. I do love the growth that Bub Carrington has made, but none of those guys are first option stars. Cooper Flagg suddenly makes a young team with a lot of interesting players into one that has sort of a clarifying purpose. And then you have the ability to go out and make some moves, perhaps to get a little bit better, to bring in some veteran help. You have someone that can attract those players. And I like, Washington is still far away. I'm not saying like rookie year Cooper Flagg makes them a playoff team or anything like that, but that gives them a much more clarifying purpose of this is what we are trying to build to. And now we have some interesting pieces to get us there, maybe sooner than we think.
I think it has to be Charlotte. Like, if you get LaMelo, Cooper Flagg, I think that changes everything about Charlotte. LaMelo is in the first year of his 5-year contract. LaMelo is one of the better players at the bottom of these standings. I know Philly has Embiid, wherever you want to think about Embiid at this point. But LaMelo with Cooper Flagg changes everything for Charlotte. Charlotte's kind of just been stuck in this zone of, I don't really like much of the players on Charlotte. I'm not a big fan of Mark Williams and his injury history. I'm not a big fan of Brandon Miller. I'm not a big fan of Miles Bridges. I think LaMelo really is all they got. And if he has another guy next to him that's a big two-way wing that can actually play on both ends of the floor and rival him as like the best player on the floor, it makes it a lot easier to build around a guy you just paid a 5-year max contract to.
Well, I have bad news. I just did a tankathon spin and Philly won.
Waste him now.
Karma doesn't exist.
It's a good thing. You want to burn those now.
What's that movie where you can commit crime for a day and it's legal? That's what that would
Purge.
feel like. Purge. Yes, Purge. It's actually like a purge. If Philly won this,
is there a team that like is in that 8 to 14 range of the lottery when the odds really sort of start to drop off that people would want to win the lottery and take Cooper Flagg, that everybody would be like the anti-Sixers be like, yeah,
like
this
Justice.
is awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely one. The fan base deserves him the most.
Right, Miami, correct.
It may be out west, and it may be a team that just traded their best player.
Why would we want him to go there so he can be traded from there to LA in 2 years? I don't want the Lakers.
Do we know what Cooper's diet is like? Do we know like?
The serious answer is probably San Antonio.
If San Antonio
wins not. No, it's not.
Stop. That would be terrible. Don't do that.
No.
Yeah. Hey, Nick, good news for the Mavs. If they win the Cooper Flagg draft, he can't legally drink yet. So that's one good thing for the evaluation.
Hey, this is Texas.
You think that stops Luka?
I mean, honestly, can I say Portland, if we can expand it to anybody? Like, they've built so fun and young and like kept trying the whole time, which probably isn't the smartest thing to do. But like in some ways that makes it just that they would get another super athletic young guy to go with their treasure chest of super athletic young guys.
I think the funniest one would be the Rockets getting him, right, with Philly's pick or with Phoenix's pick.
Is that's not protected?
There is a hilarious.
I don't think Phoenix knows how to protect picks.
It's not protected.
The Nets go out of their way to trade the Suns pick for their own pick back, and then the Suns pick ends up better than their pick. Would be so funny.
It is unprotected, and that would be the karma pick, wouldn't it? It would.
That would be the karma pick. That is true.
It's like Houston did it the right way, quote unquote the right way, even though they did tank after they traded James Harden, but not totally their fault because Harden forced his way out. And then Phoenix just ruined everything that they could possibly do.
Are you trying to get us to say Miami West? Was that what you're going?
I was, but I figured out that wasn't going to happen. Why not? Nobody ever wants Miami to have anything nice.
No, we don't.
Because Miami thinks they deserve everything nice all the time.
Miami does everything ethical. The one time they tanked, they ended up with Michael Beasley. So,
I already have it in the drafts of like, oh, Miami, the perfect spot for Cooper Flagg to land. Their player development's going to be. Every time that he pick a player, even if I think he sucks, I'm like, well, he's going to be good now. There we go.
And wouldn't you want to see Cooper Flagg be awesome? See, this is my point.
Yes, it would boost the profile of my guy Khalil Ware. Hence the Hoosier hat. So.
Cooper Flagg he'd be immediately Miami's best lob thrower. Khalil Ware would just be an instant Hall of Famer.
Yikes. Instant Hall of Famer.
I see
where do the Pelicans land as far as the karma?
Bro, give Cooper to the Pelicans. I so badly want it. Zion and Cooper would be absurdly insane. I just so badly want to see it. I so badly want to see those two together.
That would be the coolest 42-win team I've ever seen.
Zion, look.
Are we assuming Zion's playing more than 35 games?
If Zion's healthy, and it's obviously a big if, but if he is healthy, that duo would be scary. It'd be frightening.
Like a Herb Jones, Cooper Flagg defensive.
Herb Jones, Cooper Flagg, Zion, and Trey Murphy. Yeah, that would just be like absurd. It'd be with
Coop could
Messi on
average
the floor.
15
Yeah,
assists
no.
on that team.
DeJounte Murray would make it his job to make sure that he was the star of that team.
No, you just trade DeJounte at that point. You trade DeJounte, you move him on.
So
you trade DeJounte, you go right back.
I know.
You trade DeJounte, you attach
The
picks or
Magic.
something, you get him out of there, and then you just go back to running point guard Zion.
DeJounte for Paul George. Everybody's sad. Move on.
Chicago has a 1.5%
Chicago.
chance.
Chicago should get him. That's who I want to get him.
Yeah,
I
that'd
think
be
Chicago.
good.
Chicago would probably be the team that deserves.
That would be a karmic pick.
Chicago does not deserve that. They've
Nobody
not picked a
deserves
direction.
anything.
They're Arturas
They did pick a
Karnisovas
direction.
went and said, I want to assemble 9 to 10 really good players to win a title. That doesn't happen. You say something like that, I'm sorry. You don't deserve to get Cooper Flagg.
Their GM went out. If they did get him, imagine their GM who went out and traded for their first pick back just in case this kind of thing happened. He would be a genius.
Yeah, you traded Zach LaVine for Cooper Flagg. I would do that.
He would be a genius.
That's a good trade. Let's do quick around the horn with team update. Where's your team right now, and how are you feeling about your team? Indiana Pacers, Tony East.
Winning lots of games. Tyrese Halliburton's playing very well. They're probably going to be the 4 seed, so they're feeling pretty good.
Pistons, cool.
Cade just got back healthy, playing really well. Knicks don't want to face them, and hopefully, I want them to get up to the 5 so we can play the Pacers. But it looks like that the Bucks are probably gonna hold on to that.
With
so
media food in mind, I hope you're right.
the media. So yeah, the media food with the Pistons, dude, is absolutely amazing, dude. It's like it's literally. I
Best
swear
in
to
the
God,
league.
it's amazing.
Go Pistons.
It is
Magic,
the best
Phillip.
in the league.
The Magic are actually scoring points now. It's very exciting.
They
It's
are.
very new. They're shooting like 35% from 3 over their last 15 games. It's very awesome.
League average.
League average, not even league average, just competent. No, the Magic are playing well. They're holding the 7 seed. They play the Hawks Tuesday night. I forget when this airs, so it might be in an hour or so. And that's going to probably decide whether they get the 7 seed and host a play-in game. So we'll see. We'll go from there.
League average 3-point shooting, 36% even right now. Wes Goldberg, the Heat.
They've lost 2 games in a row, so they're basically stuck into that 9-10 play-in matchup range. So not much to play for, but not related, though. The Heat, as we've discussed, never tank. But Bam Adebayo is questionable for tonight's game. Tyler Hero and Andrew Wiggins are both questionable. The Heat never tank. These are just lingering injuries that they're taking care of. They are not shutting anybody down. They never tank. They would never do that. Not a Pat Riley Heat culture organization. They would never, ever do that, even though there's 4 games left. And if they were to lose all 4, it would dramatically increase their lottery odds. Not that that matters, because they would never tank.
That's cute. Their schedule is a joke. They're going to win all 4 games.
Danny, locked on Cavs.
Waiting for the postseason to arrive. Their magic number to clinch the top seed in the Eastern Conference is 1. They will do that at some point this week, but it's basically just waiting to see who they play in the first round, and then we'll go from there.
Just keeping them healthy. Keeping them healthy. That's
Just sitting scared.
They averted.
Sitting
It
scared.
seems like they averted a crisis with Donovan Mitchell rolling his ankle on Sunday against the Kings. Rocket Arena got really quiet for about 12 minutes between the time Donovan went back to the locker room and then reemerged from the tunnel. But it seems like they avoided anything serious there.
Great stuff all the time from all these great shows. This is Locked On NBA Squad Show East. Check out the links in the description for ways to find your best show. LockedOnDaily.com. Find a newsletter for every single team in the NBA. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA Squad Show East.